Hello, mate.
Hello again.
What a week.
It's been an interesting week, shall we say? Not the week I think we expected.
No, not at all, mate. I've been on my phone a lot more than I normally have.
Yeah. I've my phone is just pinging all the time at the moment. It's just update, message.
It's great, though, isn't it?
It's absolutely fabulous because I think we talked about this before we started the podcast that we thought, we'll do this maybe for our own mental well-being or sanity, should I say?
A bit cathartic.
Like just to chew the fat, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I thought, we'll get some friends and family that'll kind of, jump on the boat and just, stroke our ego, shall we say, and just say, oh, well done.
Yeah.
But the response has been just humbling. I think is the right word.
And
humbling.
it goes to show exactly why it's needed, I guess.
Yeah. Just the messages that are coming through from Dad saying, I've watched the first episode of the Dadcast and you've just described my life.
Yeah, somebody said it's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah, you've literally, I thought nobody else was going through this or could relate to this or understand the thoughts in my head. You've managed to just put it in one episode of the Dadcast. So,
and what is it about dads? Like, what is it about dads that feel like they're so alone in it, and it takes someone else, not talking to them, but just sharing their experience like me and you did, and then somebody from the outside is looking in and going, "Oh shit!" Like you'd think it would be obvious that they're not alone in it because there's so many children with autism, but there's something about being a dad you kind of shut down and.
I don't know what it is. Maybe we're. Historically, it's always been said men aren't particularly great at sharing feelings, and I'm not going to turn it into one of those podcasts where we get the tissues out and start
feelings,
hugging trees and stuff like that. But I think historically, we tend to keep ourselves busy, and we're very good at compartmentalizing shit. And put that to one side. I don't need to deal with that because I have to open that box. Then, all hell's going to break loose. And I think we're very good at doing that. We love to be that kind of strong shoulder for everybody else, support the family, the kids, and then just expect that to be the case. And it might be some men don't have mates that have autistic kids, and then they don't want to bring it up and just constantly go on about it. So they just joining the conversation elsewhere. But it's obviously hitting a mark, and I think we were just discussing the Instagram account. We just had a quick look there. In the first week, we've had 102,000 views on it, which is completely insane. And then when we looked at the stats, we didn't expect this either. We called it a Dadcast. But 80% of the people interacting on the Instagram account are women. They're mums.
Yeah.
And this goes back to maybe what we said in the first episode, that for me, it was Selena that was going out, finding all this useful information, and then going to me, have a look at this, read this, watch this. And then I'd kind of go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then when we looked at the YouTube channel, it's a complete flip.
Yeah, complete opposite.
It's like almost 80% men watching the YouTube channel. And I don't know whether that's kind of the wives, the girlfriends, the partners just going, go look at that YouTube channel, watch that.
They're directly going straight to YouTube just to watch.
And they're watching it. And for me personally, before we started all this, when I was going through the early diagnosis with Lydia, when I had a quiet moment and everybody else was asleep, that's when I'd be kind of, I need to do some research on this. I need to find out information. I'd be on YouTube looking at various things and everything else like that, just to kind of educate myself and find out more about autism. So, it's been very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
It's it makes you wonder. I mean, as far as with us having such a huge kind of female viewing engagement, whatever you call it, I think a lot of that we talked about this as well. I think a lot of that speaks to women typically, traditionally, are the carers, aren't they? And the men, in most situations, rightly or wrongly, in most situations, they're going out, they're working, and then they come back and they deal with what has to be dealt with. But as far as actually sharing anything emotionally, and I think for a lot of these mums, they're feeling a little bit lonely in it.
Yeah.
Especially early on. If the dads are struggling to accept it, they're feeling like, I need to help my partner. I'm trying to talk to him, but I can't get through. I can't cut through.
Yeah.
And I think that might be what it is. please watch this.
Yeah, watch
You're
this.
not alone. You might be alone in our small friend group, but there's so many dads out there struggling, and they've some, again, we talked about this last time, some are very early on like we are, and some are much further down the line, and like, watch this. It's okay to feel like you're feeling, but don't feel like you're alone in it, because you're not.
And I think I went, again, this is personal experience, it might not relate to everybody, but I went through a stage of being in limbo, and it was like, I know she is likely to be autistic, and then there was like another part of me going, shut up, let's not go down that route just yet. You know, she might be absolutely fine, she might be delayed or slow, and that just caused me to be in this kind of period of almost like a purgatory where I'm just kind of, I'm useless.
There's no action being,
because I can't go, right, I've accepted it, now let's deal with it and do the best that we can for it. I was still kind of half and half, and that's a real difficult space to be in, because you've got to take that time to kind of process it in your head, and it's only when you actually fully accept that you're going to have a child with autism, additional needs, special needs, whatever you want to call it, for likely the remainder of their life, that you're able to then add value and start doing, probably what you do in your day-to-day job. Go, right, there's a problem, I'm going to handle it, or there's a situation, what's the best way that we go around it? So you become very pragmatic and go, right, enough of this now, it's time for action.
Do you remember the moment you accepted it, or was it very much a slow burn for you?
It's almost, I'm trying to think back now, it's almost a bit of both, if I can say that. I think I accepted it, but then, because it was me that kind of said, look, I think there's an issue with Lydia. She's not matching up to what I would expect a child to do. But then it's just, I can't truly put my finger on it. But from there, it feels like a slow burn. That every day that goes past, it's more ingrained, it's more accepted. It's like, this is what's happening now.
I think for me it was, and like I said before with Mish's mum, she's very good with children. She's incredibly good at understanding sort of checkpoints and where they should be getting to at certain ages, and obviously said about kind of these little tests she was doing with clapping and stuff. And so it was, neither of us had accepted it, but it was always kind of, mum, I think mum thinks he's got this, I think mum thinks he's autistic. So it was always kind of suggested, but it was never accepted.
Do you think kind of having that conversation going, like, mum thinks this, is almost a kind of a soft way of going, has she got a point?
I think Mish was probably in limbo with it as well. So with Mish, it was mum thinks this. I don't know why. Like, she was really, like, we were both against it, because you don't want to accept it. Because it's it feels like a death sentence.
Would you say you were being defensive?
Absolutely, I was being so defensive. I remember exactly the moment I accepted it. I used to be a painter and decorator with my dad, and I'm on my knees and I'm sanding some skirting boards, and Mish sent me a message, and I feel like this was when she accepted it too, because all she did was send me a picture. There's no words, no context, nothing. And it was Thomas was like, he was sitting in his high chair, really happy, but stimming like the most stereotypical stim, blinking, twitching, like with his hands, and I just absolutely collapsed into a heap, just absolutely bawling my eyes out. And my dad was there, and he went, "Mate, you okay?" And I just showed him the picture, and I was like, "Thomas is autistic." And he went, "Well, you don't, because the family go, you don't know that." And I'm like, "He's autistic."
You make a very good point there, because thinking back then, it's like Lydia was almost telling us that she was.
Hello.
Just what you said there. It was. I remember she'd do things like she'd grab something, and then she'd just bring it really close to her eye.
Oh yeah.
And just be doing this, like studying it really intensely like that.
Yeah.
Just again, another thing, and then just noticing that she wasn't having any of that kind of imaginative play that you would expect. Like, oh, here's a pram, none of this was going on. It was just pick something up, throw it, repeat. Pick something up, throw it, repeat. And then just things that I was like, what is this? Why does she keep bringing stuff right up to her eye? and just kind of studying it like this, and it would go on day after day, night after night. So it was like, going back to what you're saying, like it starts off maybe as a slow burn, but the signs are there.
God, yeah.
And we've probably said this now. I think just walking around soft play or out in the supermarket. Honestly, I think as parents of autistic kids now, you have a radar.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God! Now I see grown adults,
that
and I'm
child
like,
that child there, yeah, or adults, yeah,
yeah.
That explains a lot. But yeah, and it hits you though, doesn't it?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, after seeing that image, and I went home. I left work early that day, and I went home, spoke to Mish. Lots of tears, but then very quickly there was lots of digging out other photos and other videos. And when you just said then about holding something close to her face, fidget spinners were quite a big thing, like 5 years ago, and there was another video, and we just kept going through videos. And on iPhones, you can type the name of a person, can't you? And even 5 years ago, it would just bring every photo. And Thomas was there was a fidget spinner, but it had like a sucker thing on the back, and we'd stuck it to his high chair, and we were in a restaurant. I think we just tried to go eat out somewhere, and he was like lying right down like that and just spinning it like this. Yeah. And just doing it for ages, for like 5 minutes, just spinning it like that. And he was tiny, just spinning it. We kept finding stuff like this. Actually, while I'm on it, if you get anything like this, use it as evidence. Yes. Like, if you see your child doing something, if you're at the moment, if you're very early on in the journey, and I'm only saying this now, I know I'm going to go off topic slightly, but I don't want to forget it because it's really important. If you see your child doing anything, I've got my mother-in-law, Elaine, thank you very much to thank for this, because she understands the system very well. She was like, do this. And that one thing was evidence. If you see your kid doing something, get your phone out, film it. Yeah. Like, film it. The more that you've got, the easier it's going to be for you.
That's such a good point, because we didn't do that. And looking back, I wish that we just had that kind of, right, she's doing something which we believe is kind of...
because your kid's not a performing monkey. So when you go for the assessment, even if you go to your GP, go to your GP because you want a referral. If you go to your GP and go, well, look at him, he's clearly autistic. They're like, well, he's...
they've got like 5-10 minute window.
Exactly.
You guarantee when you bring them in for that 5 or 10 minute window,
it's going to act so typical.
They're just going to be like that. Why are we here? Everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as you get home, look at this.
Exactly.
It's a really good point. But looking back, I think that's kind of it. And then when we accepted it, it was straight into, right, we need to act. Yeah. We need to act and start the process of speaking to kind of the GP, getting a referral to the paediatrician, reaching out to the services, and just and then filling. We touched upon this again in the last episode. You get those milestone forms that come out, and when you start filling them out, and it's no, they're not doing this, and you've got a whole booklet of just, my kid is not where it's supposed to be for a typical child. Again, it's more evidence in your face, and you before too long, you can't ignore it. Everything's there, and it's just pointing you with a massive arrow to one direction, and it's still very easy to have that part of you go, nah.
How did you feel? Kid. Like, how is it? I think a lot that came up in the comments. Obviously, there was a lot of different points that everyone talked about. Thank you, everybody, by the way, because it's been very cathartic for me. Even some of the things I said in the podcast, I've gone through the comments, and I'm going to confess one now. So one big thing I've always held is that I'd never change his autism. Yeah. Right? And another point I made in the podcast is how when you decide things, you need to decide whether it's for you or for the child. Yep. So I made both of these points. And the point on not changing or taking away his autism, I said, because for me, I wouldn't know the child that suddenly hasn't got autism, and I'd feel like I've lost the child. Yeah. I've just made that about me again. And I made a point, didn't I, saying...
don't make it about you.
Don't make it about me. And I've done it again. And I read a comment somebody had put, very lovely comment. It wasn't, it weren't being shitty or judgmental or anything. And by the way, I really appreciate that anything I said was taken as it was intended.
Yeah.
Because this is such an emotive subject. I totally understand how things can be taken not as they're intended. So I really appreciate all the comments. Everyone has taken it exactly the right way. So thank you. But I read this comment and it got me thinking. And I was like, would I take away his autism? I've always said no. And I still wouldn't. But would Thomas want me to take away his autism? If I was to say to Thomas, mate, I can hit a button now and you'll have a future. Oh shit. Sorry guys. You'll have a future where you'll get a job. You can have relationships. You can get married. You can communicate effectively the same way as everybody else does. You'll live a long, happy, unconfusing life. Do you want me to press that button? What's he going to say? I don't know what he's going to say. But for me to assume he'd say, no, thanks, I'll keep my autism. Now, I've always said I wouldn't take the autism away as long as he can effectively communicate and get through life. Because I understand that a lot of people in the comments said they take it away in a heartbeat, which I totally understand, because obviously these are all very different kids and the spectrum is as long as it is wide, and there's a lot of parents and children out there that are really suffering.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just got me thinking. I kind of made it about me again. And it's so hard not to, because if I admit that I would take his autism away, I think I've always felt like that's me saying the child I've got isn't the child I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And it isn't that. I love it to death, wholeheartedly. But would he want me to take his autism away? He probably would.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hadn't thought of it like that, and I've never thought about it like that in 5 years.
That is, I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I've been too focused on...
I wouldn't want to... No, because I love him to death, and I'd be too scared to lose that child. So, and my point on this is I wouldn't have got to that had all of these people in the comments not been sharing their own stories and perspectives.
Yeah. And it again, it goes back to why we wanted to do something like this, and it was to create talking points. And, you know, if you do get a chance, go on the Instagram page, look at our reels, go through the comments, because reading some of those comments, you know, they do make you think. Some of them you can relate to, some of them you probably disagree with, but it gets you thinking from different aspects, which is really, really important. But unfortunately, whatever we think, we ain't going to remove that autism.
No, we're not. No.
We ain't going to be able to do anything about it.
No.
And it's just thoughts and prayers, but
thoughts and prayers.
It ain't going to change, is
No,
it?
it's not. So all we can do is kind of what we can.
Is what we can. Yeah.
I always thought this podcast when we started it. I say this like we've done like 100 episodes. Back in the day when we started the podcast.
Yeah.
I always thought it was going to be us doing something for others.
Yeah.
I had no idea how cathartic it was going to be. I had no idea how good it was going to be for me and Mish. I mean,
yeah.
My wife has read the messages, and she's opened up to me in the last couple of days, probably because of the comments she's read. Yeah. She's felt that through what she's read, she feels she can open up to me. And she said about the whole taking away the autism thing, she said, I don't know, I've never been able to say this to you. And I think maybe she thought I'd judge her for it because of the way... Because I'm saying I'd never change him. If she said I would, then I'd judge her for that. I understand why she'd feel that way. But she said, like, she's... I mean, we'll touch on grief in a minute, I'm sure we will. But the grief that she feels... And she said she feels selfish for this, but she can't help it. She's kind of grieving the loss of the life she thought she was going to have, the travelling she thought she was going to be able to do. Yeah. Because she has a life too.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm very fortunate, and those kind of things. A holiday's great. I love a holiday. It's brilliant. But they're not massively on top of my list of priorities, and that might be a male-female thing. I'm very much, especially since Thomas, I'm very much like, my goal is like, I ain't scared of dying anymore. I am scared of what I don't leave behind when I die. And like, that's my soul. I'm sure it's for you. Yeah. A lot of dads out there, it's like my sole focus now is just get something set up.
Yeah.
So that if something happens, everyone's going to be okay.
I think kind of looking at the comments, that's one of the biggest fears that seems to be coming about is when we do eventually pop our clog, shall we say, what's happening?
Yeah.
What's happening with the child that we've left behind?
Yeah.
Who's taking care of them?
Are there siblings?
Yeah.
Some people are lucky enough to have siblings, but you know what? Even with siblings, it
they've got their own life as well.
Exactly. So then there's this, and I, for lack of a better word, there's this burden that's being left to other children.
Yeah.
So it's and like my son is 17 and Thomas is his little brother, and they have the weirdest relationship. It's hilarious. Because like Aiden, 17, he's still like he's getting better, but like so he's like, I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do. I know what to do with the dogs.
Yeah,
but this guy just doesn't want to interact with me. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's and he's he'll be there for Thomas when we're gone. But yeah, that was it just kept coming up. Everyone is just petrified, and it's even if there was fantastic. I mean, everybody kind of talks sometimes about if the care services aren't up to scratch, where's he going to be? I've got this fear of like him understanding where I've gone. Will he think I've just left him? Will he think I've just decided to go? And his level of understanding by the time I die, I'm hoping he'll have an understanding of that. But it's just these things that rattle around even now when he's 5.
Or will his understanding just be very black and white?
Yeah.
Like, Dad's not here anymore.
Yeah.
That's it.
Might be that.
And that's at the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, again, we don't know yet.
Don't know.
We don't know.
It's
but
just overthinking and
well, it's causing us to think, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. Big time. So how was it for you then? How was it for both of you? Like when you finally accepted it, grief. And I think grief is a really interesting word because grief is the actual when we all think of grief when somebody actually dies, but we felt like we were grieving, and I remember feeling unique in coming to this discovery of this is like grief. I remember thinking, no one else has probably thought of this before. It's like grief. But actually, you go through and you realise everybody describes it as grief because that's exactly how it feels.
Yeah, I thought it was a eureka moment for me. Like, I'm the only person going through this. But I think for me, there was definitely an element of grief. There's that kind of, again, you touched upon it there with Mish, is that I had this image of, in my head, it's like a movie that I played out. My daughter's going to grow up and she's going to go to school. She'll go to a prom. She'll do GCSEs. Walking her down the aisle. She might go to university, dropping her off, having arguments about boyfriends and all that sort of stuff. And then, she'll get married and I'll have grandchildren that I can spoil and everything else. All this was going through my head. And you paint this picture of family holidays. And part of it is you're looking at your childhood and you want to share those beautiful memories that you had as a child that you still remember from your parents. And I thought, I'm going to be a parent now. I'm going to push that onto them and we're going to make these magical moments and everything else like that. And I start to realise that, no, that's not going to happen.
No.
That's not going to happen. And that really fucked with my head.
Yeah.
Really fucked with my head.
Yeah.
And looking back, that was probably part of the reason that I mentioned I stayed in that limbo bit for a bit longer.
Right.
Is kind of how can I be grieving somebody that's still in front of me? It's like, again, it sounds really bizarre thing to say that she's not dead.
Yeah.
She's clearly not dead because she's kept me up to fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. I've got work, to be up at 6. So she's clearly not dead. But you're kind of like,
that's brilliant.
But you're kind of going through all this, going, we ain't going to be doing this. Is she going to have a sports day? I could just be like in the kitchen cooking dinner. And then a random thing, I won't be doing that, will I? I won't be teaching her how to cook.
Oh, really?
I won't be baking cakes and cupcakes with her, and it's just like your brain's processing so much. It's like going, here's another thing you won't do. Here's another thing you won't do. Here's another thing you won't do.
Wow.
And it builds this period of, we'll call it grief, whatever the case may be. But looking back, I think it's like your own way of processing the whole thing and handling it. So you go, I'm going to have to go through this really shitty, dark period now. It's going to upset me. I've got to go through it. and your brain's giving all this sort of stuff at 1,000 miles per hour. And I think it's like almost like self-preservation in the hope that you then go, right, okay, I've gone through that thought process. Let's move forward.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very much like that. And I've probably not said this to Selena too much, but there's been times where early on, I go to work, come back, immediately we're in that early stage of just absolute chaos with Lydia. Not sleeping, so everyone's at their wits' end. It'd be like come home, straight into kind of partner, father mode. No time to rest, just full on. Wake up, go to work, repeat. And I just remember the only quiet spell I had to myself was that kind of drive to work. And there were a couple of times on that drive to work where, because it was the only time that it was quiet and silent, and there wasn't loads of kind of other exterior things going on, it was almost like, right, you've got a quiet spot here, buddy. Let's decompress.
Make the most of it.
And I just, a couple of times just driving to work, by the time I got to work, I was just like, almost in tears, like, oh, what the fuck, man? Why is my life like this? What is going on?
After having no sleep as well.
Yeah, just that was just a continuous thing. Yeah, that just added, on top of that. And it'd just be that drive to work would just be my moment to fucking let it all out. I'm not saying I'm like fucking get a bit of Kleenex and I'm like, all
mate,
this,
I did. I was a fucking mess.
It was just like
I'm an emotional character.
Well, mate, it was just that kind of that because it was quiet, just getting there and just being like, oh man.
Mish used to catch me coming back from work, and it was never fair, but it happened regardless.
Yeah, I'd
come back from work, and I get a text message. And she'd be like, "Are you coming in?"
Yeah.
Because I'd be just sat. I'd reverse into the drive, and I'd find excuses to stop doing anything from the shop. I'd find excuses to just extend the time before I'd have to get home. And I'd get on the drive, and I'd just be like, just kind of like revving up, and I'd feel like I was there for 10 seconds. And she'd be like, "You pulled up 10 minutes ago."
Yeah.
And I'm just sat there like, and it's not fair because she's been with him all day. And I'd get in, and there'd be this, and this actually happens with typical parents with typical kids, especially when like babies and stuff. Yeah. If the mum's been at home, dad gets in, your turn.
I've been with a kid all day.
Exactly. And it'd be like, so we kind of came to a compromise where all I would just need, decompression is the thing, I would just let me get changed.
Yeah.
I would just need something like mentally to switch the mode I'm in. It was weird. So like I'd be like, can I just get in, just let me get out my clothes and put some fresh clothes on, and then I'm dad mode. Now I've just sat on the drive for 10 minutes because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go in. Life's too stressful. Life's too hard. Like that. That's how I was early on. Like that was me dealing with it and having no outlet and having no friends that would get it, and even my friends that if I had mentioned it, they didn't know what to say. Yeah. So they wouldn't. They'd be too scared to go, "Hey mate, how's things?" And I'd be like, "Fucking shit. How's your life?"
Do you know what? I find that now, even now, like I'm 4 years into this. Even now, if I come across another parent who's got a child with disabilities, I sometimes find it like looking at them going, "Oh, I'm really sorry, mate."
Yeah.
Like that. I still find it sometimes difficult to engage and know what the right thing to say, even though
it makes you wonder if early on. I was thinking about this the other day because when I went on this thing this stag do in Dublin. A couple of the lads, really close friends, loved them to death. They just said, "How is Thomas?" And I feel like I can talk to them and be open with them, and they're fantastic. And I think I wonder if people haven't asked earlier, because maybe if they tried, all I did was just wallow.
Yeah.
Just wallow at how awful it was and how hard it was. It makes me wonder, like, maybe my mates weren't being dicks. Maybe they were just like, mate, we've got our own shit going on.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own shit going on. Like obviously it's very easy
just
to
being polite. Just give me the standard answer. Everything's fine.
Just say everything's fine when it's not, because that's what everybody does. How's things, mate? Yeah, good. You?
Yeah.
Life's falling apart, really.
Yeah.
But so like I think you said this last time, your friend group can very quickly go from what feels like this huge group and network of friends to hardly anything. But sometimes I wonder if that's our fault for not reaching out as men. I mean, like, especially as men. I can only speak as a man. But again, like, from what we're finding from this is we find it difficult to speak about stuff and reach out and help others and ask for help. So I wonder if that's partly because we don't reach out and go, mate, you're free for half hour. Just come and have a chat. I think any good mate would go, mate, absolutely. Like, I don't get it, but I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I've never done that, not once. I've never tried.
Yeah.
So I come to have to kind of reflect on that a little bit.
Do you think, like, when you do go out for a pint, if it's like a half an hour window, do you want to go out and talk about all the stuff that's going at home? Or do you just want to go out and escape and go, do you know what, let's have a pint. Tell me what's gone on at work, what's going on at the moment, let's talk about the football, how shit your team is, and that's it, just to escape rather than have another counselling session with a mate. Because you've been moping and talking to the wife about it and thinking about it all week. Maybe you do need a bit of escape. And I've noticed with me, like, maybe for the first couple of years, I would have been kind of, life's, wallowing in, as you say, kind of wallowing it. It's difficult. Or again, we haven't had any sleep, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. But now it's like, because my head's around it, it's like, well, it's life.
Yeah.
Well, that's my life. That's the cards I've been dealt. Nothing I can do about it. I've got to deal with it. How's your day? How's it all going? If you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And I'm very comfortable doing that. I'm very comfortable going, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't do much. All I can do is, advocate, help her, and give her the best opportunity you can. And that's probably exactly what you would do as a parent if you had a neurotypical kid. It's the same sort of thing, just that, the end goals might be slightly different. But
that's so interesting. Like, you just saying that then about, that's my life. I repeatedly forget now, at 5 years old, so for anyone that doesn't know, Tom was profoundly autistic. I was a dog trainer in the army for like 10 years. So I've kind of treated Thomas like I'm training a dog for the last 5 years. And we've kind of got to a position now where we've got these communication cards, which I never in a million years thought he'd be able to do, be able to use. And he can now come to me and go, like yesterday, I was sat on the sofa, he brought his communication book over and tapped on the car and then tapped on a picture of my mum's front door. Okay, can we go in the car to Grandma's?
Yep.
I was like, no, but we can go in the car. And then I got a picture of Sainsbury's. We have a little card with Sainsbury's on it. We can go to Sainsbury's. And he's like, cool, that'll do. So, right, went around Sainsbury's.
Get out of the house, mate. Come on.
Honestly, that's all it was. He's like,
get me out of here.
I just want to fucking go somewhere, Dad. So, now, because my life is now that, I forgot what it was like. And like I said, I've got a 17-year-old. I forgot what it's like to have a typical kid. So it's very easy. Yeah. I've gone the long way around getting to this point, by the way, Andy. I've got to the point of being like, oh yeah, my life is actually a bit weird. Yeah. My life is a little bit mental because it's just your life. You forget.
But until you step back and put it through a kind of a looking lens, you don't realise how different your life is. Lydia consumes Selena and my life. That's it. Entirely. Everything we do from the moment we wake up, we're either talking about how much sleep she's had, when she last had a poo, what her plan is for today, have we met her needs, what's she having for dinner that evening. It's just everything we do is centred around that, and then it's conversations about where are we up to with the EHCP, where are we up to with this, we've got an appointment, all this sort of stuff. It's just literally all of that, and it isn't until you take a step back, or like when we went to Paris and did the half marathon, where you're out of that kind of bubble for a couple of days, that you go, oh wow, this is different to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Look at us just going wherever we want to go, whenever we want.
Oh, that's insane.
Mental. Like, should we go grab something to eat? Yeah. And you're like, fuck, this is what it's like with typical kids.
Yeah, we did eat a bit too much though, didn't we?
We ate way too much food. But we did do a long fucking run, so I reckon we were due it. I mean, for me, I think the whole grieving thing was, I still now, for now, I'm not grieving Thomas anymore. I'm not grieving because, like, you made a really good point, exactly the same one that we made, and I Mish was really struggling for I struggled like hard and fast.
Yeah.
So I struggled for like a month, real bad. Like just randomly sitting there watching the TV and then just bursting out in tears. And she'd be like, you know, well, shit, there's a man crying in the house. Like this ex-squaddy suddenly decided to start bawling his eyes out. I don't know what to do with this. But Mish's was more like prolonged and even now, like there's days that she struggles. And the grief thing, I said the same thing. I was like, I get it. Like this grief. I said the only way I got past that was by going, like, imagine Thomas is going, yeah, hello, I'm still here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's how I got past it, was just by him going, yeah, guys, I'm not dead. Yeah. I'm not dead. You're grieving someone that never existed.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm not what you thought you were gonna have.
Yeah,
but then there's also this grief for a lot of parents where it's not so much grief, it's just a wish to end the torture and the pain and the suffering that their kids are going through. Now, we're very fortunate in that in the day-to-day with Thomas, there's not these behaviours, there's not anymore. There's no the self-harm behaviours of kind of, they've gone. A lot of the stuff he was doing that was really heart-wrenching. I mean, even now sometimes he will just burst out in tears and we still, to this day,
Lydia's
have no idea.
Lydia does
and
that.
It's real fat, fat tears.
Yeah.
And it's like someone scared him.
Yeah.
It's like someone's just jumped in front of him and scared him, and he's this big fat lip, and we're like, oh my mate, what's wrong? Cuddle, and cuddles are difficult because they.
Yeah, Lydia will push you off. You're trying to console her, she'll push you off.
Yeah.
And
it's tough.
Hard.
It's really, really hard.
It's hard. And then there's again with Selena, kind of, a little while ago, there's times where I've come back and we've finally got Lydia to bed, and it's just been so overwhelming for Selena. You can just see like the tears, she's trying to hold them back.
Yeah.
And then I stand there, I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, Andy. I go, my focus has been so much on dealing with Lydia that I've almost, because I'm going, right, I'm pragmatic, I'm just going to, use expression, pull my big boy pants on and just steam through this and work through this.
Yeah.
I then just completely blindside how my partner's doing and how she's trying to cope with it, because we're not identical, we're not all the same. It's just because my method works for me doesn't mean she's adopting the same method for her. And there's been a couple of times where I've just seen her kind of get massively upset, and I just go, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah. Feeling like you've dropped the ball.
It's like
stuff. I've done that a few times.
We're supposed to be a team and everything else like that, and I've not looked after my teammate in that sense, and those times kind of play on my mind a little bit. And
if you this might be too personal. This might get cut out, by the way. Have you guys ever got have things ever drifted that far apart because of the autism that it nearly broke?
Yeah.
We've had some real low times.
I think that was probably when, up until maybe Lydia was 2.5, 3. I think because, again, Lydia just has a really bad relationship with sleep. We've tried sleep diaries, we've tried cutting out naps, we've bought every gadget, every potion, lotion, every snake oil salesman wants to kind of shift. We've tried all of that, and that sleep deprivation really does have a factor. But it got to the stage where we were both like pressure cookers.
Yeah,
just like, right, we're doing what we need to do. We're surviving. We're doing. It sounds crazy saying we're surviving, but it is literally we are surviving.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where those pressure cookers just went bang, and it was very much, we had a fucking frank conversation. She told me what she thought. I said what I thought. It was very, very kind of...
A lot of people watching this are going to be going, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, people might relate to this.
Yeah, I think they will.
And it was very direct.
Yeah.
You can imagine two absolutely exhausted parents.
Sleep is like...
Yeah, just going, like, what is your problem?
Yeah.
This is my problem. What's your problem? And then just actually having it out.
Mate, that's mega.
And do you know
that's
what?
That's really good.
It at the time, it wasn't very nice.
No.
It was, but it had to be said.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, we did it, And then something just clicked.
Yeah.
It was like, right, I understand where you're coming from now.
Yeah.
You understand where I'm coming from. Let's just keep those communication channels open.
Yeah.
But it forced both of us to actually be more empathetic to one another and just like recognize the signs. Like now, there's a couple of times where I'll go to Selena and I can see she's getting stressed. I said, just go upstairs. You chill out for a couple of hours. Mm-hmm. Watch some TV. Do whatever you want to do. Just leave Lydia to me.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like recognizing that, and she'll go exactly the same to me, going, "You've had an absolute shit night last night. Go out, do what you need to do. Go to the gym, have a couple of hours to yourself. Just get out of the house."
Yeah.
And just having that frank conversation has allowed us to reset stuff and go, right, okay, we either work as a team or this ain't going to work at all.
Yeah.
And I think that has allowed us not to become a statistic.
Yeah. 80%, isn't it?
Something like 80%, yeah. 80%. Like, how can 8 out of 10 autistic parents just split up?
Yeah. That's scary.
And that's nuts.
It's what we said last time. I think a lot of the time we think that's. And by the way, we're going to repeat so much stuff on these.
Yeah.
The talking points all just end up coming back. But it's. I think a lot of the time there's not necessarily anyone doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a. This is hard.
This is hard work.
Maybe the idea of separating means you've got more time to.
Well,
even you saying then that Selena and yourself are kind of recognising. Sometimes that's enough.
Yeah.
So like if I was to say, or Mish, or she said something to me, something like, go take a break, you've had a rough time.
Yeah.
That might make me go, that's all I needed actually.
Yeah.
Right, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go away. I just needed you to recognise I've had a shit time.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it is.
That.
It's just like,
Yeah.
Or just like, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, but I honestly now, we're a couple of years further on, I can look back and go, those first kind of, that period of, being in limbo, is she autistic? Yeah, she is autistic. And then just all the stress of dealing with that. Then add all the stress of, I need somebody to contact speech and language. I need someone to go to, contact occupational health, the paediatrician, deal with the nursery, all these exterior things that, neurotypical kids, parents of neurotypical kids don't have to deal with. Add all that kind of bureaucracy, paperwork, deadlines, everything else into the mix. And when you're dealing with people that, they're written in such a way that I wouldn't have to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. This is something completely new for me.
Yeah.
And you want me to understand, and I have to put the right words in this document. Otherwise, you might kick it back or reject it or not take it. You're having all this new stuff that you're having to learn as well. It's a lot to take in the first couple of years.
Yeah, it is
a lot to take in.
It's a lot. I mean, even now when with the EHCPs, if they come back for the annual review, we're like looking at it and we're like, did we say that? Was that the plan?
Yeah.
Was that? You know what I mean? We're like, where is it? Where's the email? Did they send it you? Did they send it me? Trying to find the email with the document in it, and then the document's got a password. I got sent someone else's EHCP once.
You're joking?
No, they sent someone else's EHCP. Immediately sent me an email. Basically, what they were doing was going, fuck!
GDPR.
Mate, honestly.
GDPR on that.
Mate, they sent this email like, I'm ever so sorry, we've sent you the wrong. Now, luckily, the password for that, it's the number for the postcode, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's the password for their document. I couldn't open it.
Yeah. Still, though.
I mean,
still,
what if we had roughly the same postcode? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount of numbers. I mean, because it's not the letters, is it? It's the numbers.
It's the numbers, yeah.
You could quite easily get into that if you tried for long enough.
Yeah.
So, it's still an absolute panic with what to do with these things. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
We were going to do this at the beginning, weren't we?
Yes, we were. I think we got sidetracked, but
good and bad points. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Do you know? I was just sitting here thinking, is this recording?
Oh, could you imagine?
The audio. I was just thinking, did I put the audio on to record? This is our second podcast, guys. Cut me some slack.
The third one would be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So we were going to talk about good and bad points.
Good and bad, yeah.
Someone else raised this, didn't they, in the comments?
Yeah, I think they called it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good, the bad, and the ugly. Isn't the bad the ugly as well? Or would ugly be things like getting poo in your mouth?
Oh, I don't know. There's one ugly thing at the moment. That's that EHCP reform.
That's a great ugly.
Let's do the good and bad first.
Right, you go first. Do
All
your
right, good. So the good thing that's happened is last week Lydia engaged in play with me, in the sense that all a kind of idea of play has just been like, I've kind of mentioned before, it's cause and effect, dropping stuff, here's a bouncy ball, bounce it, right? I was in the kitchen, there's a stair gate between the dining room and kitchen. She threw the ball in, I thought, let's have a bit of fun. I'll throw it back to her. And then she just picked it up, threw it back to me. And we just went back and forth doing this for 10 minutes, and she was like laughing, fetching the ball, and then like launching it back to me. And I said to Selena, we've just had about 8-10 minutes of this. It's absolutely fantastic. The following day, she grabbed me by the hand, led me into the kitchen. I stood in the kitchen, and then she went in the dining room, got the ball, threw it in. And I was just like, that is the first time she said, let's play a game.
That's mega. Do you know what they call that?
What's that?
Intensive interaction.
Intensive interaction, yes.
Yeah, intensive interaction. It's taking those little moments where they do something and you basically take a chance.
Yeah.
And see if you can make a game out of it, or just kind of get some kind of... Mate, that's amazing.
That is...
The fact she did the next day as well.
Yeah,
she was like,
remembered.
hey, let's play that game again.
Let's play that. So that was just fantastic.
Mate, that's mega.
So that is the good.
That's good.
The bad is, you'll relate to this because you've told me a story about this, but until it happens to you, I didn't realise how bad it was. I'd gone out the front room, and Lydia decided to climb the stairs. She pushed the door open to her brother's bedroom, climbed onto his bed. The window was open, and then she had climbed up onto the window ledge, and I came back in the front room. I was like, where's she gone, little monkey? And I ran upstairs thinking that she'd be in her bedroom, sort of bouncing on her bed or whatever like that. I went in her bedroom, couldn't find her. Went into ours, she wasn't there. I opened her brother's door, and I was just met with her literally hanging out the window, just resting on her elbows. The rest of her body
she was like...
was out the window. Her legs were out the window. Everything else.
Is it a drop, or is it...
It's a drop straight onto a pitched conservatory roof. So she would have gone through the conservatory roof, and she's just balancing on her elbows. Everything else is out there. And it was just like slow motion, like, fuck. I went there, jumped on the bed, grabbed her, and I just lifted her up. And I remember like thinking afterwards, the scariest thing, once I got her off there, wasn't the fact she was hanging out the window. She had no fear on her face.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that stuck with me, is that most people, if I was hanging out a window, you'd know I was scared. You'd see it on my face. She was just like that, big smile, like it was absolutely no awareness that if she falls and drops, we've got a serious issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Whew.
And that was the bad of this week. Yeah.
Oh, this is good. You see, we've had a very similar experience where actually we weren't quite as lucky as that. I'll talk about that another time. It scared the shit out of me. Yeah. Oh my god! Even now, my heart is like, that was horrendous. Yeah. So anyway, good.
Yeah.
My good, or our good. Thomas went on the bus every morning this week. Like ran to the bus.
Excited to get on it.
Loving it. Like, let's go to school. Now this whole dog handling piece, I think, it served me incredibly well, because very early on, we were like, we need him to go on this bus. Yeah. He needs to go on this bus to school. The fact that the service is available to us is like, we're using it. And the amount of kickoffs early on, I've spoke to some friends who, a friend of mine, they've got an autistic kid, and it's an absolute nightmare getting them on the bus. We were just like, dude, it's happening.
Yeah.
And like, we forced him on.
Yeah.
We forced him on several times, like pinned him to get on, to the point where probably after the 4th or 5th time we pinned him on, like a typical kid, it was, I could kick off, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So I may as well just get on the bus. That has served us so well.
Yeah.
Because now we're in a position where like we've just had a full week of like running to the bus with a smile on his face.
Yeah. That's an important point, though, isn't it? It's like it's very easy to go completely the other way if they've got additional needs.
Yeah.
To be a bit softer.
Yeah.
And you think you're doing them a favour.
But you're not.
But you're not. And I mean, the closest thing I've got to that is Lydia and brushing her teeth.
Yeah.
The first week, honestly, just trying to brush her teeth was a struggle.
Yeah.
I felt like, was it Steve Irwin, the old Australian guy? Honestly, I felt like him wrestling a crocodile the first time I was trying, for a week, just trying to get in there. She'd shut her mouth, she'd move her mouth to one side. Now she's at the stage where she's not happy, but she accepts it.
Yeah.
And we have a little time limit that we do it, and she accepts it. And as long as I stick to that time limit, we'll play ball.
That's perfect. That time limit. That's what we do with Thomas.
Yeah.
So we do this thing now where we only manage to brush his teeth once a day. Mish did manage it in the morning. We brush his teeth at night, and at the same time we do some like vitamin sprays.
Yeah.
Starting with the worst ones, and then end up with some like banana flavoured ones, so they can progressively get better. But yeah, it used to start with literally straddling him.
Yeah.
So I'd be straddling him, holding his arms down. This sounds cruel, but I don't really give a shit, because ultimately we've now got a kid that hasn't got to suffer in a dentist and have fillings and stuff. We'd straddle him, hold his hands down, Mish would brush his teeth. He very quickly realised, these bastards are going to do this to me every day, whether I like it or not. So
pick your battles.
Now he lies there and we do a countdown from 30. So we get 30 seconds of teeth brushing.
Yeah.
The last 10 seconds, the back of his teeth. So I count down. He has his head on my legs, and I just stroke his hair. Mish is brushing his teeth, because apparently I never do a good enough job of it.
Sounds familiar.
So she brushes his teeth. I count down from 30, and then when we get to 10, we go, ah, and he opens his mouth, and then she's got 10 seconds to rapidly do the rest of his teeth. Yeah. Then we start with the iron vitamin sprays, and we do iron and then whatever the rest are, and they progressively get better. That's his little bedtime routine. He's in bed, and yeah, sweet. So very similar. It's that, like, if you have a little bit of a nightmare to start with, you end up in a situation, again, all the kids are different, this is just my experience and Andy's experience,
personal experience, that's all.
This has worked for us. Real hard work, straddling, forcing early on, and you end up in a situation where these kids just basically go, fine, go on, do it, in certain situations.
What was the bad?
My bad.
Yeah.
This one really pissed me off.
Oh, God.
Right? Really pissed me off. So, I'm away for work next week.
Yeah.
So I said to Mish, this weekend, like, I've got to go away next weekend. This weekend, just do what you want.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do it. I'll have Thomas. So, yesterday morning, when I said he decided he wanted to go out in the car, and I said, cool, we'll go to the shops. Went to the shops. I'm in the van, which he loves, but we've got a blue badge, a disabled badge for Thomas. That's in the car.
Yeah.
So I've had to park just in a normal space.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So, but what we have to do, we have to park in a parking space. Then while he's in the chair, I have to go get a trolley, like a big trolley, and he sits in the trolley. He won't sit in the seat.
Yeah.
He sits in the trolley. So, take the trolley back to the van, get him out. There's a car there that's parked next to it. Get him in. We go in, and kind of to try and desensitise him a little bit, I take him down some of the colder aisles and the noisier bits. I try and if he starts putting his fingers in his ears, I move him away, and just trying to get him used to it. But I take him down the aisles where he might pick stuff out. So he's got like a gluten intolerance, so we take him down the gluten-free aisle. He picks out some custard creams, but he picked up 2 bags of Haribo sweets. Like, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I've just got you to the end of Sainsbury's without kicking off, so have what you like, dude. Got out, paid. Paying for stuff going out of the supermarket is always a tricky one. Trying to get him to understand, you just let me pick that thing off the shelf, and now you're taking it off me to beep, and now you're putting it on that metal thing. Just give it back to me. I'm like, yeah, but I need to stay there while I pay, because the scales. I can't explain that to him. So he's going, and I'm like, just wait a minute. So do that. It's a little bit tentative, but it's fine. We've had a good time in Sainsbury's, and I get outside. Because he has no sense of danger, I have to take the trolley to the van. I can't. If I try and walk him, he's going to try and slip out of my hand, so I have to take the trolley right up to the van. Trolley's at the front of the van. Hope you can all imagine this, guys. I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it very well. Trolley's at the front of the van. I then open the front door. Sorry, open the passenger door. I get him, pick him up, put him in. I'm trying to strap him in, and obviously because he wiggles out, autism classic.
Wiggle does that. Yeah,
wiggle out your chair. So I've got to put all the other clips on to make sure he's in. Then the seatbelt on. Maybe I'm taking a minute. Right, maybe I've been a minute, and as I finished, I stand up to go and shut the door, and there's a mum with one of her kids. They've parked next to us, and she says, "Excuse me, can my son get out of my car?" And I'm like, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, this kid, her passenger door is where my open passenger door is, so can't open the door. My initial instinct is, I'm a burden, my kid's a burden.
Yeah, very easy to do that.
My initial, because most people are reasonable. So if she's making this point of kind of like me, then I feel like I'm the one that's being unreasonable. So I said, I'm really sorry. My child's autistic. Just things take a little bit longer. And she went, no, I said, my child's autistic. And she went, yes, I know. And my initial thought, I was just shutting the door. And now I'm like, so now this kid's got out, the kid's done nothing wrong, by the way. The kid's now got out, and as they're walking off, I'm thinking, you know my kid's autistic. I'm like, you didn't even listen to what I said. I was like, you didn't listen to a word I said. Also, I'm like, why didn't you just tell your kid to get out the other side?
Yeah.
Like, just scooch over and get out the other. It was just this really little thing.
And I bet you thought about that the rest of the day.
Fucking raging, mate.
Yeah.
I was just like...
If you knew the kid was autistic, like, I know your kid's autistic, why act like a complete And I'm sorry.
Whoa, C-bomb!
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's our podcast. I will drop it when I want to drop it. We might have to beep it out, really. But if you're saying, I know your child's autistic, why even bother having a conversation?
Mental.
And waiting that extra 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Has it made any difference to your day? No. Yeah. Have you managed to rile somebody up for the rest of their day? Yes. She
was stood there like, I hadn't seen her. I don't know how long she'd been there waiting. But it was when I turned and looked, and she was just staring at me like I should have known she was there, and I should have known her kid was trying to get out the seat. And it was like a really small thing.
Yeah.
But I think because life is difficult as it is.
Yeah, don't add to it.
Exactly. But because life is so difficult, these little things, when you think you're super chill with having a disabled kid, these little things just make you go, oh, yeah, maybe I'm not super chill after all. I was raging. Yeah. Even Mish said after when I told her about it, she went, did you say anything to her? I went, no. She went, you didn't say anything to her? Because normally I would.
Sometimes it hits you so hard, and they've said it so bluntly, you're going, am I hearing this right?
Yeah.
Clearly I'm not.
I remember exactly where she was at the point where I realised. Yeah. Like, I said to Mish, I've got like a freeze frame of this woman walking away in my head when I realised, oh no, hang on, I'm not the absolute dickhead in this situation. Yeah. It's you, and not the kids. They didn't, the kids. Yeah. But that was my bad. Enraged
It's
me.
funny what you say though, isn't it? Like early on, you think you're the burden.
Yeah.
And I think I was thinking about this kind of. There was a couple of times early on, like as new parents, we wanted to go out and have breakfast out and about somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I just remember kind of the early days of just like going out and Omar's like trying to apologise for Lydia's behaviour, overcompensate. Like, oh, she's throwing food on the floor. I'd be going around afterwards, like picking every last bit up, just like, oh, I'm really sorry about that, apologising and everything else like that. And I think, experience, I remember that going out for one meal, and we just felt so uncomfortable because there was two elderly ladies at a table, sort of two away from us, and they just kept staring.
Yeah.
They just kept staring at Lydia, and I just kept, like, in my head, I was playing out the conversation they were having at the table, going, oh, look at those bad parents, they can't even control their child and everything else like that. And it just played in my mind for a long time. Yeah. Now if stuff like that happens, I've just perfected this stare where I'll just like stare at them and they'll look away, and when they come to stare again, I'm still staring
You're still
at them.
There. You haven't looked away.
I haven't looked away. I haven't even blinked. And that's what. And honestly, like Selena now, she was very much. I don't want any confrontation. I'm very kind of quiet. I just want a quiet life.
Yeah.
Now she's like one of those tiger mums with a cub.
Oh, I love
she'll literally will go to battle for Lydia. Yeah, it's like you look at Lydia or you say the wrong thing.
Yeah,
she'll put you in your place. And like a couple of years ago, that wouldn't have been her.
No.
And I think part of this whole thing is that you learn to toughen up pretty quick.
Big time.
And if anybody says anything about the way your child is or the mannerisms they have, I'm quite happy to put people in their place.
Yeah, definitely. Mish is like not confrontational at all.
No.
Not only is she not confrontational, she avoids confrontation like the plague. That's the one situation where I'd be like, oh shit, stand by. Because like, if somebody came and looked at Thomas funny, she'd be, oh, there was this, and this isn't Mish, but I was just thinking of Sainsbury's, and obviously people looking. I might have told you about this. There's this one situation where, and I think as because of autism parents, like as a community, we all know we've got each other's back.
Yeah.
And there was this mum that was going through the tills at Sainsbury's, and her lad, he had ear defence on, clearly autistic, maybe 14, 15, so big lad.
Yeah.
She probably had a pretty decent shopping experience with him, and then he suddenly decided, as half of her shopping was going through, he suddenly was like, I'm going for a run. And he just bolted. And now there's a queue of people behind her with shopping. Her lad's legged it. She's there with all of her shopping. And I'm on my own. I haven't got Thomas with me. But I was coming through the self-service. So I literally... Because when you see someone else is autistic, I can't help... I look with compassion. I almost want to sometimes I just want to see the parent lock eyes and smile.
Yeah.
Like, just... I don't know why. I just want to be like... I'm with you, mate.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I've got you. And this happened, this lad, and she was looking around, and I went, go, I'll watch you shopping. And she went, thank you. And it didn't take long. I think he had probably done a lap and come back round at this point.
Yeah.
But she just looked over and said, thank you. I was like, hey, it's fine. I went, I've got one. And she went, oh, really? I went, yeah. And it's just like this having someone there when this woman, all that woman would have been thinking about was, my kids run off, and I'm going to upset all these people who are waiting to get their food.
Yeah, 100%. You start thinking about other people.
She would have been thinking about all those people and how horrendous it's going to be that they've got to wait.
What are they going to be thinking of me?
Yeah,
oh my God,
exactly.
I've held their day up.
And if you could just be that one person that goes, dude, I've got you back.
Yeah.
Go do that thing. I'll see you in 30 seconds. Like, invaluable. Yeah. Invaluable. I would, like, if I was in that same situation and somebody went, dude, you're fine.
Yeah.
I've got one. I'd be like, yes, lad.
Yes, my man. Yes.
I'd be like, do you know what I mean? Even that, when I said I got one, I thought, that would be a really insensitive way of saying it. But she took it exactly as it was intended.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, you get it. Cool. Thank you. And little things like that. Should we talk about the ugly?
The ugly. Oh.
I mean, that came in week 1 of our podcast. What are the odds of that?
That, I just like...
I couldn't believe it.
You sent me that... Was it Thursday you sent me the document? I think...
Wednesday or Thursday, yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
EHC reforms.
Yeah.
And just reading that, I've got it in front of me now, and I can see it starting to wind me up a little bit. Yeah, I think
I'm hoping I've got some misunderstanding because it seems so fucking stupid. I can't see the logic. I could see the logic from a business point of view if I was that generous, sorry, and I'd be like, okay, I can see why you think that's a good business idea in the short term, but in the long term, all these children that need EHCPs to go to mainstream can't have them, so they're not going to manage in mainstream, so they're all going to be homeschooled. Is that?
I honestly, just reading it, like this. I think there's two things. The vast majority of hard-working, decent British people don't mind their taxpayers' money going towards. Mm-hmm. Number one, the elderly.
Yeah.
Number two, disabled children.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at this going, well, they've already screwed the elderly over, and now they're coming after the disabled children. So I'm like, who the fuck is coming up with these policies? It's like, have they... the elderly, we'll have a seance and we'll bring up the spirit of, I don't know, fucking Harold Shipman, and he'll design the policies for the elderly, And then at the same time, what we'll do is we'll get the child catcher out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to come up with a policy.
He was a creepy bastard, wasn't he?
I was like reading this, going, like, I've got it in front of me now. Like, they're calling it a shake-up, but let's be honest, it fucking stinks. I don't think it's about helping kids. I think it's about cutting costs.
Yeah.
You know, let's be fucking honest about it. Let's make it harder for parents to access any support than it already is.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is basically shutting the fucking door without saying it loud.
Yeah.
Basically saying there's too many EHCPs, it's too expensive, let's tighten the rules so fewer kids qualify, but the ones left behind, they're going to be stuck in underfunded mainstream schools, and they're going to suffer the most. And the guys in Westminster, they fucking know that as well. So it's a classic, let's make it harder, shift the blame to the schools and local authorities, and we'll dress it up as a reform, and meanwhile, everyone else is left picking up the pieces again. And, you know, it's fucking disgusting.
It's crazy.
And I'm sorry for the little rant there. I read it.
Everyone's thinking it.
It took us, God knows how long to get our heads around an EHCP, how to fill it out, having it sent back to us with half the points not being recognised, having then to go back and kind of request another look at it.
Yeah.
And what you're saying now is there's too many EHCPs. At the end of the day, disabled kids aren't really a return on our investment, so fuck them.
Yeah.
Is basically, if I'm being really cynical, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because essentially what they're saying by this is, I think, like from what we were looking at earlier, the only logical result of this is that because they're not going to manage in mainstream.
No.
The teachers aren't going to be able to cope. The typical children, they're not going to be able to get educated properly. And they deserve an education just as much as anybody. They're not going to be able to get educated properly if there's a child there with disabilities. So ultimately, these children are going to end up being homeschooled.
Yeah.
So, and the government don't like homeschooling in general, but they're going to have to be okay with it because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and they've probably looked at the stats thinking, like, if we do these kind of reforms, make it tougher for people to qualify, children to qualify. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we're talking about children qualifying for help is absolutely nuts in a kind of a supposedly civilized society. It's absolutely crazy. But it is just about saving money. There's still going to be the same amount of kids who are going to have autism as well as, you know, other disabilities. We're not suddenly going to go, by doing this, we've reduced the number of kids.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it's going to look like, because statistically, because there's going to be less EHCPs.
Yeah.
Or, no, see, this is interesting. So what's going to happen to the number of diagnosed kids? So there's nothing's going to change as far as diagnosis is concerned.
No.
They're still going to have the same amount of diagnosed kids, but less EHCPs. There's going to be more kids in homeschooling.
More kids in mainstream schools as well.
Yeah,
not getting what they need because reading the comments, it was so clear that some areas don't have schools that can,
like hubs,
hubs or specialist schools for autistic kids. And then when they do, somebody put the other day there was only 10 placements for the next academic year, but for every kid applying there was
10.
And there was something like, for every kid there's 10, 15 children applying for that one place.
Yeah.
I mean, even Lydia getting into Sevendale in September, 15 places.
Wow.
15 places.
Isn't it crazy? Like, we've talked about this before. This came up in the comments a lot, is that by having a more profound case of, in our case, autism, you're actually in a better position because you get the support easier than the kids that are slightly less profound.
Yeah.
So this whole limbo bit, there's kids in limbo because they can't get in mainstream, they can't get a place, or they can get into mainstream, but they can't get the support they need. Yeah. They can't get into specialist.
But then there's certain kids that are in mainstream, and the schools aren't supporting the children. When the parents going, look, I'm telling you now, my kid has, autism, ADHD, whatever the case may be, and the school's going, no, we're not going to support you on that.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have, and then the other thing is, like, fast forward 15, 20 years, these kids that have fallen in the cracks of this new reform that they're thinking about, where they're not going to get the additional support and help because it's costing the taxpayer too much money in their eyes. Yet there's money for other projects, shall we say, internationally, that they've always seemed to find money for.
International projects.
Yeah, international projects. Anything that involves a bomb, we seem to have money for. Yeah. But you look at that and you fast forward 15 years, when these kids suddenly are 20 years old, 21 years old, is there going to be a social care platform in place? Because that's already on its arse, underfunded. You know, if you speak to the police, you know, they probably say 90% of what we do is actual social care work, as opposed to, you know, true crime, so to speak. Yeah. What's it going to be like then?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's cost-cutting. Just looking at it, it's cost-cutting dressed as reform. It is simply about saving money. We're going to tighten the criteria. You know, we'll blame the parents, not the system, by them saying it's too many EHCPs. That's going to shift the blame to the parents, as if families are treating this as a sort of game.
I know.
You know, I'd love to do. I'd love to stress the shit out of everybody in my family by wanting to go down this route. Yeah. Not at all. And then this kind of backdoor exclusion for SEND kids from mainstream schools. You know, it's a tactical way to remove children from those settings. Too many EHCPs, or is there too many children with unmet needs?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
But in mainstream schools, we talked about this last week when I said I'd gone around, looked at mainstream schools and considered them for Lydia when we were told you need to go out there and start choosing a setting for your child to go into.
Yeah.
And how many mainstream schools are truly set up to cope with autistic kids? And then we touched upon it. Those neurotypical kids, is it fair for them as well?
No.
To have 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7
autistic,
if it goes like this, autistic children in there. It's absolutely nuts. And hopefully they see sense and realise it's ludicrous to even be thinking this.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's even come out. It's that insane.
It's right. Look, I'm fortunate now. Lydia's got a placement in a specialist school.
Yeah.
And we discussed it last time. We've got the reels there. You know, mainstream versus specialist school. We had a short clip there about it, and there was various comments there. But look, we totally appreciate how fortunate we are, because Lydia's needs are similar to Thomas. They're profound.
Yeah.
You know, she's clearly autistic. She can't speak. She's still in nappies at 4 years old. There's no kind of indication that's going to change or anything else like that. We are so fortunate to get her into a specialist school.
Yeah, I was when you messaged saying, I was like absolutely made up, because I know how difficult it is and how lucky you have to be to get one. Which is why I've got so much sympathy for parents that if they don't get one, or if their children are almost like in this smack bang in the middle, where they just don't fit in either.
Yeah.
Because even the hubs that are attached to mainstream schools, they still lean quite a lot towards the mainstream school.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, and I don't think there ever will be, if I'm honest, because I mean funds are getting cut now. They're not going to stop pushing more funds into setting an entirely new system up for a different type of school system that
it costs too much money.
Yeah,
it costs too much money.
It's so expensive.
That's what they're saying. It's like, you know, let's be blunt about it. It does come down to money.
Well, I mean, they're talking about cutting the EHCPs.
It's return on investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like we're not getting a return on this investment. It's just a drain on our resources.
Yeah.
You know, we'll let the charities pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it'd be like, you know, food banks are now the norm.
I know. Yeah.
You know, growing up, there would not be that facility where people that are working are going to food banks. I hadn't heard of a food
bank till maybe 6 years ago.
But now
it's a thing.
Now it's an accepted thing, and the government are quite happy for charities to fill the gap and kind of bear the load, rather than the government say we have a responsibility for that. And you're almost starting to think, is this going to be what it's like with children with additional needs? Are they going to go, well, we're going to cut the money, but we know eventually the British public and charities, they'll come out and they'll fill that gap and they'll support it. Every day will be children in need in that sense. And you kind of think, if that's the route they're going down.
And you know, this kind of makes me think even more like, because things are going this way, or that if anybody is just starting this path,
I know what you're gonna say,
don't fuck about.
Yeah.
Like, don't hang about. If you've got the slightest inkling, don't wait. Like, go now. Just try and see if
get the process started.
Get the process started. Start getting evidence. That evidence bit, I can't tell you how much. I'm so grateful for my mother-in-law for telling us. She was just like, evidence. I can hear it. Evidence. Just get evidence. Every time your kid does something that you think that seems unusual, video it.
Yeah.
Video it, because to give credit to GPs, they can only take action on evidence.
Yeah.
They can't go and give you a referral if you just come, because all they're going to say is like, I don't see what you're telling me I can't see it. Bring me some evidence, and then, because they'll get questioned otherwise if they do referrals.
Like, and then they want to see what the evidence is. Why
have you referred this child?
It's costing this amount of money.
Why have you referred this kid? Well, the parents told me. Did you see any evidence of it? Well, no. So they're not going to refer you unless you take evidence. Get some evidence, and then if you do end up going down the route of getting an assessment, and even that takes a long time. I mean, I think they test till the 3 now.
Yeah, it's 3. Lydia didn't get her assessment till she was 4. She was supposed to have it when she was 3 years old, but again, the backlog was so big.
Yeah,
we got told, sorry guys, you're going to have to wait another 5 or 6 months.
And ours was at the arse end of COVID, I think, because I remember the room we went into. Oh, I've got to say this is quite funny. When we went in for the assessment, where did you go for it? Did you go to Sevendale?
Yeah.
So we went. So we went for the assessment, and there was still these plastic screens up. People weren't wearing masks as such, but the screens were there, and there was a room full of people, and they have everything set up, balls and different toys, and they just want to see how your kid's going to react. And they did the assessment. Everybody there was fantastic. There was someone from speech and language. There was a nurse, and loads of people there, and someone there just taking notes. And Thomas did absolutely no interaction with any of the stuff that was there, but really loved the big plastic screens.
Oh, right, okay.
The COVID screens. He was like, this is cool, and was trying to get behind it. And anyway, the nurse went, she said, this is how we found out. This is how we got the diagnosis. She said, so the thing with autism is, and then she went, she realised that's how she was telling us he was autistic. That was how she was delivering the diagnosis.
You like shock, horror.
Yeah, we were like, oh my God, how could you say such a thing? This has just blown my mind.
Yeah.
But she said, the thing with autism is, and then she caught herself and then looked at everyone else in the room, the speech and language, everyone else, and she went, we are giving a diagnosis of autism, aren't we? And everybody went, yes. And she went, okay, thank God. Okay. We were like, listen, it's cool. This is what we think it is anyway, so it's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I remember with that diagnosis, even though we'd been fighting for it and we thought that's what it was for months and months and months, I sobbed again. I told you I'm an emotional cat. Yeah. I sobbed. Mish was fine. She was totally chill.
Yeah.
I was just absolutely blubbering. The nurse had to follow me down the stairs and was like rubbing my back. And I was like, I don't know why I'm upset. It's a
rubber stamping though, isn't it?
Yes.
It is like,
exactly.
Bang. You know, the years and years and years of getting to this point, here's a rubber stamp, it's confirmed.
Yeah. And when you get it, it's like...
We've not had it yet.
Have you not?
No, so...
I mean, I'll tell you, she's autistic.
Is she? Oh, jeez. It's a good job I'm on this podcast.
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, so we had it in February. I think we got the same setup from the sounds of things. We got taken for a 20-minute conversation with, I think, an occupational therapist whilst it was going on, just explaining to us what was going on. And then we were able to go sit in this room with the two-way mirrors, like we're at some sort of police station looking in. Yeah, we said, you can go sit there for the last 5 minutes and watch Lydia interact.
Oh, we didn't do that.
Maybe it's because it was during COVID.
Right,
because we were allowed to sit there. I think there's another... they were doing 2 children at a time, so there's another set of parents in there, so kind of watching our kids. But we don't get the official feedback from that until next Friday.
Okay.
And it's a telephone call with our paediatrician.
Okay.
So he'll probably just go, yeah, the results are in. Yeah. Guess what?
you might want to take a seat.
Yeah, you might want to take a seat. Get some tissues. Steady yourself.
Shocking news coming.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah. If he turns around and says she's not autistic, that's the shocking news.
Yeah, because
I'd be like,
what the fuck is it then?
You little shit! You've put me through this. You know exactly what we've been saying. But no, we get it. We get it next Friday. Okay. So everybody we spoke to is just like, it's autism, guys.
Yeah.
So that'll be the final one. But yeah, it's
mate, mental.
Been a good.
Should we wrap it up?
I think we should. I think we've covered enough. We've moaned. We've talked about things. A lot of things have pissed us off in this one, haven't they?
We swore a lot.
We did swear a lot.
Sorry if you don't like swearing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's we're just speaking it as it is, really. It does come out in a certain way, but
right. Thank you, mate.
No problem at all.
Number two.
Problem at all. Number two, done and dusted.
Done and dusted.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the comments, guys. Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully, you're still commenting. We haven't put people off, but yeah.
Right. Cool, man. See you later, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.